administering then, indefinable, known as 010 to some people, and many other things by many other people. I have had a rather spectacular day today because it is the 19th of July, according to Roman calendars, 2021. And everything that we predicted and everything that we've been talking about as to why we've been trying to get you to see and adopt kindness credits has become massively, universally apparent today. The banking system wouldn't communicate with itself, the servers were down, and this is due to the transfer of the equitable rights that the people have assigned their consent to grant to the serial number of the vaccination that contains the RFID chip that we've been talking to you about since April last year. Now, what has happened obviously at that position, how does a business who, let's say a business has 100,000 slave tokens turnover a year, and from people who use cards, not necessarily people that pay cash, because nobody knows how much that is, you're not declaring that anyway. So the amount that is accounted for is the amount on the cards. And so the only difference is that little chip is now not external of you. They vaccinated enough people here to warrant that assignment of the equitable rights and shares of the people who have consented, like I say, to have that chip put in through the vaccine. Now, there is a percentage, obviously, let's say 50% of the population, for argument's sake, has done that. 50% of the population haven't. So immediately you've lost 50% of your customer base, which means you're 50% less able to meet the turnover expectations, therefore the liabilities that you have accepted previous to now, which you were using that money for to pay back the debt, let's say. So whatever percentage as a business you were paying out for gas, water, electricity, council tax, debt, liabilities, let's call them, you now are 50% down. They know that, and that's what their game is, and you're not going to be able to meet the liabilities that your legal fiction has been utilised in contract for, so you're not going to be able to meet your obligation. First of all, you need to know that all debt is fiction, so there's no obligation of performance to it. Now, I know that's a big twist of most people's indoctrination, but the fact is the facts, and it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not, that's the truth, that debt is fiction. So it's the presumption, so you're not going to be able to meet the requirements of the presumptions that you've been making up till now. Now, because you're presuming through that presumption that you were supposed to pay the debt, you haven't been able to pay the debt, your business has collapsed because you weren't able to meet the requirements within 90 days. The bank, dressed up as the government, has come now to steal your house. My promissory notes today say that I, Minister and Ben, promise to stop the system stealing your assets in exchange for oil, whatever you've got, 5 hours of your time, products or services, wherever you are in the world, invested into your immediate community, and we will discharge the liabilities by you standing in the true standing universal law that debt does not exist. So you have crediting now a belief mechanism. We're all creating our reality from our belief, and you have got a valid alternative. Imagine what is going to happen, such as what we just witnessed in the community, in our direct community, who have had this information face to face for a year and a half now, and 6 years before that, you all have. And it's not the fact that Mitsotakis has turned around and said you can't go in and shop unless you've had a vaccination. You can go in the shop, but unless you're chipped, then you're not going to be able to walk out with anything. Now, one particular shop didn't give me the trust in order for me to take the goods, even though they've done it before. Not that I wanted to help people, not actually consume their matter. And this was a very good opportunity for me to be able to do that. They knew that there'd been no cash in the cash machine. Some was put in it kept running with fault for over a week prior to today. And so everybody was having to use cards. This is called grooming, like a paedophile system does. It grooms you to accept what's coming next. So here I've gone from using cash, first of all using drachma, before that you were using rocks and sticks, before you started using silver, then you started using promissory notes like we talk about in the homeschooling video, which I suggest everybody watches first. And now what we're doing is we're back to the rocks again. Why? Because all of that came after the point of the rocks was Roman canon, Vatican. It was nihilism. We were believing in nothing in a piece of paper, in hypothesis, instead of a valid asset, a resource-based economy for exchanging. Which is what we've created with the olive oil. So the bottom line is it was always been a resource-based economy. The problem was that you assign your share of those resources, or you did, to the legal fiction. When we secured that, like we talked about before, had to create another mechanism in order for them to be able to claim that they've got the right of use granted to them by you through the your consent of using legal fiction. That was done away with, and very well we put you all on lockdown so that you could at the same time see what was going on but also learn the alternatives. Some people have done that, some people are still dithering around, and today I think it was the eye-opener. So there you are, the ATM hasn't got any cash in there, and you have been paying your card. So now the cards don't work. And so even when you go in, so you go to the cash machine, no cash, okay, I'll have to go and pay with my card. Even that point, that is actually theft. The bank have prevented you from accessing your resources in your locally accepted tender. And they can do that because it's their copyright on that piece of paper system, the card, the banking mechanism. So you've assigned a consent to it. Now what's happened, obviously, is because of what we did, then they've had to come up with this. You assign your consent, what's your name before I stick the injection in. You've joined with the legal fiction once more, signed your consent to the serial number, and given them it all back again. And now, the only way that you're going to be able to access this shitty stuff that's in their shops anyway, so think about that as well, is by swiping your hand or your arm or BFR scan, and that's going to come, I predict, in the next couple of weeks. The most concerning part about this is, as a risk assessor, if you were to be responsible for the underwriting of the assignment of the asset, and was it the right time to do this? Well, look at what happened just recently. Mitsotakis told the emergency workers here that they were all going to have to be vaccinated, and they all got up and said no. So he's come round in this way and just said, okay, well, if you're not going to be vaccinated, you really can't go in the shop because you haven't got a chip. So I'm sitting here waiting for however bad it's got to get before you get off your arse and say, right, okay, I can see enough to know that it's not looking good if I carry on doing the same thing that I've been doing all this time. So here I want to know about kindness credits. So going into the first shop, obviously they said, when the card was read, and he said, he already said when he looked at the card, he said, Perez cards don't work today. And I said, it didn't work in the ATM. He said, no, nor with the POS. So he scanned it anyway, and it came up, no, it's not working. And so he looked at his brother and he said, it's for 22 slave tokens. The card's not working, it's Pereira's. And his brother just said, so obviously the guy at the till wanted to give it to me on a tick, and the brother, so I said, and I could see that it wasn't, obviously not, and he has actually let me do it, like I said before, which was rather strange. So he must have realised that there is a possibility that there's never going to be euros coming out of that machine ever again. And there's also, I could see that there was a possibility in his eyes of his thinking that there was never going to be a point where that chip and pin was ever going to work again in his POS. Otherwise, I know he would have given me it, because he has done this sometimes before when, gone in there and tried to explain about canvas credits and giving him things. And then had to go around and give him slave tokens, because he says that this is the way it is, this is the way I've always done it, this is a franchise. It doesn't matter if you were in a franchise or not. You have to think about how much of that money do you get working for that franchise, and how much of it do you keep, how much of it goes out that you think you're liable for, and it's that I'm sitting here waiting for you to give me. Give me that belief that you believe you've got this amount of liabilities, and we will discharge it in a way that you have already been operating in anyway. You've already been using commerce all your life. You've already been buying your credit in the belief of what it is that we're saying is really the way that it works. This is the way that it works. This is the banking mechanism. This is how the government appears to exist to be real. And this is how you restore your rights from crediting such a system that has incorporated you into perpetual slavery, really. And now there's nowhere to hide away from the obvious truth that if you really have granted your soul now to the non-entity everlasting for infinity. If we don't do something now, you can wait. Here's the offer. You can wait 3 months if you like. And we're in the second column. Bang, today went the ability to be able to exchange slave tokens into kindness credits, and I am so happy. I've been singing and dancing because I've got a really great story to just add on to the scenario of what happened instead at another shop. So I went into the next shop and I wanted to print. I don't want to buy a load of toner, and I want to support the shop. So I took a promissory note in there, and I want you to print 10 copies. So the battery light's flashing on here. I'm just going to cut to the chase. In the end, she gave me the money. She gave me my money. She printed my money off for me. I said to her, look, how much is it for 10? And she said €5. So I said, the problem that I've got is the banking system's collapsed, and well, I don't know when I'll be able to give you €5. So she said, oh, look, I'll give it to you on credit when you get the €5. Come and give me it back. And I said, but I can't do that because I don't know whether that is ever going to happen again. If I'm ever going to see a €5 note again. And so she said, I said, what about eggs? And she went, it has to go with the eggs. I said, I can give you €5 of eggs. And I said, what about flour? I've got to say flour. So she said, that's to go with the flour. And this went on, and I should get offered a rock. And she said, oh, that's to go with the rock. She said, I'm trusting you, she used the word Bassini, and at that point, I kind of seen, which is kindness. She said, do you not want this exchange? Is this not what you have been talking to me about for a year and a half? And so I said, I'll shut up, do the printing. She did the printing, and then she pulls out a little post-it note and she writes on there €5. And I said, look, it's the same thing, you just make an IOU out of a yellow post-it note. I said, so today is the new left eye, the new money is yellow post-it note. So she screwed it up, she realised what she'd done, and she threw it, and she opened the drawer behind her, pulled this ledger book out now, and it's from 2019. She just pulled out another one, 2021, opens it up, and she's already been doing this, obviously. She's already been keeping accounts of the credit that she's been using, withstanding. I said, look, we're the bank. She'd asked her where the trackers are. So she writes in there, Emma Bent owes €5. And I said, look, that's your ledger, that's you. When am I going to give you that? She said, she believes that there will be a day when I can give her €5, and she put her trust in that. She didn't accept my offer. She put, and so use the trust that somebody else has got to allow them. It doesn't have to be trust according to your definition, is what I'm trying to say. Allow somebody else to determine it. And I was so thrilled. She said, and she stood back and she said, yeah, I just did times credits, didn't I? And I just grabbed her and I kissed her and I said, this is all I've been saying, and you've already been doing this. You've already been doing this, and we're unconscious of it. We have all been doing this, and we've been unconscious of it. We've just been swapping our energy for pieces of paper that we haven't got the control of, and we lose 90% of our energy if we use it. So, of course, when everyone woke up to that realisation, they had to do something about it, because it's a response. The universe is responding to it, it's evolving all the time. And so, if you can get your head out of, even in that really wonderful situation, but at the same time, it was like, wake up, well, today's the day that we'll use time as credits. And so it is I think it's a practice run. I think that slate tokens will come out of the wall, because at the moment, shortly, for some time, but it doesn't stop you putting that into practice when you're faced with that scenario. And so it is a drill, I believe. This is a universal drill. If you haven't written, so the promissory notes today, like I said, state that, make a promise. What is it that you're going to give to another? Right, even if it's just for yourself. So I just pulled up the petrol station, and there's a little video which I went to this, and I just said, look, while you put 20 slave tokens in there, I need to tell you that the cards don't work, and there's no money in the account. So he's put in the few, and he's looking at me like this, and he said, yes, I know. I said, so how am I going to pay you if you just turned it off? I said, how am I going to pay you? I said, I'll tell you what, I'll write you a promise. If I promise to stop the bank from stealing your assets and property when your business collapses in exchange for diesel, etc. And he carried on. Anyway, I did have 20 slave tokens, and so I gave him that, and I gave him that. And while we were doing that, the guy gets out of his car, he's masked up, and went to hear what I was saying, because I flipped the coronavirus in the window and shouted, you know that it's not real, don't you? The coronavirus. I said, I've got an hypothesis, an order from the Supreme Court, the Queen's Bench, to say that it doesn't exist and it's too great burden of proof to prove that it does, and it's using claims. And he came to say, what did he say? He said it again, and would step back, and it just bang. He was like, I was looking at the van now with the coronavirus antidote on the side of it, and just went like this, you know what, come on people. You really are needing to roll yourself a pair and you know, you've got a little spineless yellow-bellied bunch for not actually even trying